On this edition of Gameball NFL Endzone, we're going to recap the top 4 matchups that took place in Week 14. Also, in our second segment, with the Super Bowl defending champion Philadelphia Eagles not so hot this season, who was to blame for that? We'll talk about that. And also, was their Super Bowl run last year a fluke? And also, with a big win over the Atlanta Falcons, 34-20, should the Green Bay Packers consider hiring long run the interim coach Joe Philbin? And in our third segment, we will also talk about the top 4 matchups to look out for. And we also have another Fan Week question that we'll give to you as well as a special guest coming up. You don't want to miss that. It's Gameball NFL Endzone, and it begins now. What's happening, everyone? Welcome to Gameball NFL Endzone, where the football season never ends. I'm Marcus Young, Genius Jenkins.
It's your boy, Michael Riley.
And, of course, our brother Luke Hartnett couldn't be here with us. But, of course, as always, we'll have his predictions to the Week 15 matchups on deck as usual. Luke, we got you. So we're going to start off first. We're going to recap Week 14's top 4 matchups, starting with the Kansas City Chiefs. The Kansas City Chiefs would have win in overtime. This was a good game between them and the Baltimore Ravens. We'll talk about that a little bit further. The Kansas City Chiefs will win 27-24 would be that score. The Houston Texans will fall to the Indianapolis Colts by a score of 24-21. And the Dallas Cowboys with another impressive win over the Philadelphia Eagles. I know you can't stand the Cowboys, but you got to give them some credit. They're playing some good football right now.
We'll talk about that here in a second.
We're going to talk about that, but they would win 29-23. Going back to the Kansas City Chiefs, they would win. It took them overtime. They would miss the game-winning field goal that would have won the game in regulation, but they had to win in overtime. Mike, how was Kansas City able to – you haven't heard about this so far this season, but they literally had to escape at home. How were they able to do it?
Well, let me put this out there. Remember I said 27-24, but it was the opposite.
Yeah.
So I about had an upset, but like I said before, the Baltimore Ravens is a very physical team, especially with that defense. What they do is when they do some of the 3-4 frontman stunts that they do, they disguise it and they communicate with the secondary. That gave Chiefs a lot of trouble, and that gave Patrick Mahomes trouble. They kept getting after him and hitting them too and forcing the turnover. So that's the one thing you want to do against the Chiefs. You don't have to necessarily sack Patrick Mahomes, but you just hit him, make him throw bad throws, it would be interception. Also, the running game was very effective for the Baltimore Ravens, and the Chiefs could not stop their running game because during the first quarter on the next series of play, it was just all runs and no passes to where Lamar Jackson led them to a touchdown run. And so it was good by the Baltimore Ravens. They had a good game plan, and they almost worked to their advantage as well due to some holding penalties that prevented them from winning this game. So if I was the Baltimore Ravens, I would be happy and be encouraged going forward because they're going to make the playoffs. If the Chiefs sees the Baltimore Ravens again, they may not be so lucky after all because they know who you are, they know what you do, and they almost got to win in Arrowhead. And at one point, it was the scare where Tyreek Hill had an injury on his heel, and it was questionable that he would return to the game. But he came back to the game and did what he did. So we'll see as the week goes how he's coming off that heel injury. Travis Kelce balled out. Everybody did what they need to do, but defense is still an issue, especially the run defense as well. That gave up a lot of yards in the run game. They was able to get a win and get crucial sacks to stop the Baltimore Ravens offense from getting the field goal range to try to tie it again. So overall, it's a good win for the Chiefs, but they need to be careful because they got the Chargers coming in,
Yes,
and they dealing with Phillip Rivers. This ain't Lamar Jackson. This is Phillip Rivers we're talking about, and we get to more of that. Overall, it was a hard-fought, physical game, and this is what the Baltimore Ravens do, and this is why they're the number one ranked defense in the NFL. They hold the Chiefs to the season low of 24 points. So,
and that's kind of weird to say that that's a season low 27, and it shows you that they can put up points. And I mean, it's impressive that they did put up 27 points against the number one ranked defense. For me, I feel like this reminded me of when they played the Broncos. You notice when they were at Mile High Stadium, they could not stop the run to save their lives, and you can tell they took some things from the Broncos book, at least from what I saw. And like you said, it almost worked to their advantage.
yeah, because what the Baltimore Ravens do is they don't show you their defense. They disguise and act like they're playing off in the passing game, but they have that middle linebacker stunt blitz between the A and B gap, and the defensive end slides over as well to blow it up. And that's what the Baltimore Ravens did so well from other defense in the NFL, was expose that middle to where if you come up in that middle with the stunt and the linebacker coming behind you, that is one thing, a weakness of Patrick Mahomes, because he does not recognize that. So you have to play good hard-nosed football and have a good game plan, which they did offensively. If it wasn't no penalties, they would have came with the win, because yesterday Baltimore had a 7-point lead until Patrick Mahomes had to grind it out. But this is concerning for the Chiefs defense and offense, because if they have a game like this against the Chargers, they can kiss that AFC West division goodbye. So they need to learn for this, and they got a big game ahead of them this Thursday night, short week.
I do want to ask you this real quick. Speaking of the Baltimore Ravens going to the playoffs, and we already talked about this already, but do they kind of make you change your mind in regards to who could be that sleeper team in the playoffs?
Oh, most definitely, because the way the Baltimore Ravens is playing, they're playing playoff football in December. That's what most teams do. They're perfection with New England. They're always playing playoff football in December and running the football well. So, like I said, if the Chiefs played the Baltimore Ravens again, it could be ugly.
All right, once again, the Kansas City Chiefs 27-24 winners over the Baltimore Ravens in overtime. And like we just talked about, and we'll talk about that in the third segment, it doesn't get any easier for Kansas City as they do face the Los Angeles Chargers. The second matchup that we're going to discuss, the Dallas Cowboys playing good football as of late. Another big win against the Philadelphia Eagles, and we'll talk about the Eagles a little bit more in the second segment. But they would win 29-23. How were the Cowboys able to beat Philadelphia?
Well, I'll give credit where credit's due. The Dallas Cowboys did win, and Amari Cooper is starting to show why Dallas spent that first-round pick to get him. But is it worth the first round? To me, still no. I would have gave up a second or third round, but that's just me. The Dallas Cowboys did what they needed to do and took care of business. At one point, they about gave up the game away, but they was on offense in overtime. They was able to wear down the Eagles' defense and was able to capitalize on it, which the Eagles' secondary corner should have intercepted that ball instead of watching Amari Cooper catch off a tip drill and just go for a touchdown. It was just overall, the Dallas Cowboys did what they need to do.
We got a fan week question coming up, but I'm just waiting for the day that a Dallas Cowboys fan talks football with us, because I just think it's way overdue, because we know how big of a fan and supporter of the Cowboys that you are. I think we should bet on a game. If the Cowboys win another game, or if they make it to the playoffs and make a playoff win, you should come in and do an episode in the Cowboys hat.
We'll talk about that later. And for the Eagles, I'll say that for the next segment. So all I say is it was pathetic. That's all I got to say. We'll just go into the next segment for that.
Cowboys fans, y'all got to win. Congratulations to the Dallas Cowboys playing great football as of late. Also, the fourth game that we did not talk about, and that is the Minnesota Vikings and the Seattle Seahawks, and they are in progress as they are playing Monday Night Football. But with that being said, that's going to do it for this first segment of Gameball NFL Endzone. Coming up in our second segment, we're going to discuss the Philadelphia Eagles and their terrible season. We're going to talk about who's to blame for that, and also, what's their Super Bowl run last season potentially a fluke? Also, with the Green Bay Packers in a big win over the Atlanta Falcons 34-20, should the Packers consider hiring interim coach Joe Philbin long term? We'll talk about that. Gameball NFL Endzone will return in a moment. What's happening, everyone? Welcome back to Gameball NFL Endzone, where the football season never ends. Now, in our second segment, the Philadelphia Eagles are not so great this season. We know that they're a year off of winning the Super Bowl over the New England Patriots. First of all, Mike, I want to ask you, who is to blame for the season that they're having?
Well, everybody's to blame for it. It starts with the front office. You didn't set yourself up with good personnel for you to succeed. You got some key players from different teams and all that stuff signing in, but had they developed? No. And plus, due to injuries, you also had secondary was banged up, who you didn't really have depth for. And also, trading for Golden Tate, to me, that was a big mistake. And because you gave up a third-round pick, think you're going to do something, but you really don't. So everybody's to blame. The front office, the owner, the general manager. You also got to take it to the coaches because they're not putting their players to be successful. Or you can say they should have started with Foles through the part of the season, then bring back Carson Wentz. I know that's their franchise quarterback, but you still have people saying that and all. But the coach is more to blame for it because he's supposed to set example of being a coach, being the Super Bowl defending champions, go out and have fun a little bit, then get back to work through your all season. Nope, they just kept doing what they kept doing, partying, chirping, and all this other stuff. And that's why I call the Philadelphia Drunkles, because they drinking and all that other stuff, and what they do, they look like a bunch of drunk dudes last night against the Dallas Cowboys. And I'm going to say this, and I'm going to say it, and I'm being serious about it. They should be arrested for impersonating the season as the Super Bowl champions, because the way they played was pathetic and terrible. I'm like, they should do jail time for that, because matter of fact, they should give back the Super Bowl to the NFL on the way they played this season. It was just pathetic. Their season is a joke. It was a fluke, and they're not going to the playoffs. Their season's over. It's done, and that's what I'm going to say about it. So everybody's to blame, and their season is a fluke, and that's why I say they are the Philadelphia Drunkles.
Truthfully, I'm going to say I agree with you. It is a mixture of everybody. I think it does have to also lie on the coach because, look, I don't think their season last year was a fluke. They had a very good football team. They were good offensively and defensively, and Nick Foles showed that he was a good quarterback. And I think they did deserve that Super Bowl, but however, I still feel like teams that normally play in the Super Bowl, and time again we've seen this, their second time around, their next season is not the greatest. We saw that also with Cam Newton and the Carolina Panthers. When they were first off the Super Bowl, their season after was a disaster. And we've seen this with many teams. But I want to ask you this though. Do you think that was necessarily a coach's decision when Carson Wentz was ready? Do you think that it was more of his decision, or do you think also that the front office may have also played a part? Like, this is our franchise quarterback, he's back, throw him in there.
Well, pretty much you have to, because you traded up to the second spot of the draft a few years back. You basically gave your first round for that, so you had no choice but to play him. So they did what was best for them, starting Wentz. And he is coming off from ACL, But they had to do what they had to do. And I also want to say that was a pathetic play of the Eagles secondary last night, because you have an interception right in front of you. It goes all your hands, and you stand there and let Amari Cooper catch it and run. I'm like, really? What's that? Come on now. You can play better football than that. Also, why is the cornerback not in front of Amari Cooper instead of being on the outside and just running stride with stride? He basically stopped, and Amari Cooper was going and caught it for the touchdown. So it's everybody's fault for that. And it's just poor play. It was pathetic. And they should literally cancel for the rest of their football season. I'm serious. The Philadelphia Eagles should call it quit, cancel, and start their offseason right now to regroup and look in the mirror to what the hell is going on. So they need to call and cancel their season. They need to call Roger Goodell, ask for a forfeit. They need to forfeit their season.
So basically, coming up on the next episode of CSI, how did Philadelphia win the Super Bowl? It's basically...
Yeah, it needs to be investigated. It needs to be investigated.
Thoroughly. We might have to go Law and Order. We might have to go get iced tea. You know what I'm saying?
Hey, whoever.
All right, but with that being said, I mean, like I said, I don't think the Philadelphia Eagles Super Bowl win was necessarily a fluke, because, I mean, they did play great up into the Super Bowl. They were great offensively and defensively. This season, I mean, I say, like you said, I agree with you that it is a team effort, or I guess an organizational effort with this. I think there's a lot of blame to go around with their season. Now, the second part, the Atlanta Falcons, or excuse me, not the Atlanta Falcons, but the Green Bay Packers, an impressive win over the Atlanta Falcons by a score of 34-20. With that being said, should the Packers consider hiring interim coach Joe Philbin as their permanent head coach going into the future?
Well, let's see how their last 2-3 games play out, because they're still in the playoff hunt, but likely they won't make it. But yesterday, for what I saw, the players rally around him. It was more of a feel. Aaron Rodgers balled out. He had a good game. He didn't have no turnovers. And the players there was a lot of good energy when you watched them play. It was just high-fiving and having fun. The coach was high-fiving and having fun. So let's just see how it plays out the rest of the games. If he goes 3-1 or 4-0, then you consider making him head coach, because he was once with Mike McCarthy as the offensive coordinator. Then he was a head coach of Miami Dolphins. That didn't work out because he was trying to install his own personnel, whatever. But coming back to Green Bay as an offensive coordinator, you kind of know Aaron Rodgers, what he likes and what he does like. So you want to develop that relationship with that quarterback, because that is critical for you and being successful in the NFL. Also for making Aaron Rodgers being successful. So we'll see how it plays out. But so far he's 1-0. Let's see the last 3 games. If they win against Chicago season finale, I'm all aboard hiring Joe Philbin as the next head coach. But right now, let's just go with how he plays out. If they ball out, then I have no problem with hiring him as their head coach and take the interim tag off.
I mean, do you think that's what the Green Bay Packers needed, was some sort of a fresh start?
Absolutely, because the way you watch Aaron Rodgers play, you way to watch the offense was playing, and the defense played pretty well despite giving 20 points. The running game was fairly good. They kept the balance and not put too much on Aaron Rodgers. So it kind of tells you that Joe Philbin knows Aaron Rodgers a little bit from being with in the past before he took over that Miami Dolphins head coach vacancy. So we'll just find out and see.
All right. Now, before we go into our break, we do have a special fan week question coming from Kevin in Indiana. And here's his fan week question.
That is a very good question, and he is to blame for some of their struggles in the offense this season, because some parts of the game they're good and some parts of the game they're not. They've just been hit and miss. I think if you hire a real offensive coordinator who's been under a good offensive guru, for instance, like Andy Reid, he could be he developed quarterback coaches into offensive coordinators, and you could bring that person in. Same thing with the New England Patriots with Tom Brady and Josh McDaniels, something like that, who's been under their wing, and also another offenses as well. And you also can bring another high-scoring offense from the Rams, who has quarterback coaches and senior analysts who develop quarterbacks well. It could be a good offensive-minded coach. It just you have to do your research and detailing to go on that route. So if I was the Lions, get rid of Jim Cotter and find a new offensive coordinator that will develop and make the Lions offense better to go along with that defense that they had. Because some of the games they was in, they should have won due to a lack of communication with the offense, and also the help that they traded Golden Tate to the Philadelphia Eagles. That's why I feel like they fell off. Because with him in the offense, he makes it more explosive, more better. But when they traded him, it seems like they fell off a little bit.
All right. Once again, shout out to Kevin in Indiana. Thank you very much for that fan week question. Coming up in our third segment, of course, we're going to break down the top 4 matchups in Week 15 and also give you our predictions. And we also have a very special guest. You don't want to miss that. Stick around. Gameball Info Endzone. We'll return in a moment. What's happening, everyone? Welcome back to Gameball Info Endzone, where the football season never ends. Now, before we start the third segment, we want to introduce our special guest of the week, and that is the head coach of the youth football Lawrence Red Raiders, Mr. Leon Beckham. Thank you for coming on the show, sir.
Thank you, man. Thank you.
All right, and also, before we jump to this third segment, tell us a little about, tell everyone about your football background a little bit.
Started off playing since I was 5 years old. My dad signed me up, and worked my way all the way up to college football, where I played at Indiana University. Came here to Lawrence, Kansas to work as a strength and conditioning coach for KU football. And after that was over, I decided to coach my little boys in football. So just been around it my whole life, and man, loving it, man. So
all right.
Congrats.
Thanks.
What made you want to get to football from an early age, and how did you get into coaching from being with Indiana to the youth now?
Right, for sure. So like I said, my dad, he didn't want any lazy boys, so we were always in sports,
I think that was all of us.
Right, so football, and I just carried the football just because it was kind of behind the scenes. I was in a helmet, I was kind of a shy kind of guy, so I love just being under the helmet and expressing myself in a way that I felt like I couldn't outside of football, so just being able to hit people, yell, scream, and all that stuff, and it just carried all the way through. And then when I found out I had the opportunity to play football in college, I just ran with it and loved the experience. And then I have 2 boys, Elijah, he's 10, and I got my little man 5, and my oldest son, he came to me and he's like, Dad, I wanted to play football. I want to play football. And I second guessed it because all these things about concussions and all that and stuff, and CTE. So, man, I told him, I was like, man, the only way that you can play is if I coach you the right way. And, since I've been in this game for so long, I just decided that, hey, this is what I'm going to do. So I've been coaching 3 years. It's a lot different than, playing the game. So I'm still learning how to tell and incorporate skills into the boys instead of me just doing it, so it's a different feel to it,
it's a different era of
right,
football
for sure.
When we once was playing, how we were coached.
Right, exactly, and I'm a elite athlete kind of, so they say it's a little bit harder kind of to go from being on the battlefields or being on the sideline and just trying to instruct especially little kids too, like that. So, I mean, but I'm having fun with it. I mean, I have Marcus's son, and man, we just ball out there. We have we're about to be 5th grade next year too, and a little bit older, a little bit bigger. Man, I'm just excited, man, for the league and for next year, you know.
If I want to say so, not just being a father, first of all, being a dad, also having that other positive male influence is something that I don't have a problem with. And I love the relationship that he has with these young boys on the field and how he pushes them to get better every single day. And that's somebody, as a parent, that I get to bear witness to that every single day. So what you do for this community is, I'm sorry I got to put you on blast, but I appreciate it. And it's very inspiring.
For sure.
One thing I do want to ask you is, how can parents that have young men that want to play football, you know, flag football, so that's kindergarten all the way up through 6th grade, correct?
Right, correct.
How do they sign up for the Red Raiders?
Well, sign-ups are usually in August, but we try to do kind of a spring ball conditioning period to get them stronger and faster. But we have a website on Facebook, Lawrence Red Raiders, or you can contact me on Facebook too, Leon Beckham, and just reach out. And I mean, we accept all kids to get better because football is so diverse. You know, anybody from, you know, anywhere, any background can come play, and that's why I love football so much, just because, you know, it's kind of like life, man. Like, you have all these people that's trying to work together to achieve a goal. So, you know, anybody, you know, wants their kids to be active during the summertime, and just try to contact me, and, you know, we'll go from there just to develop them. I love youth development and just getting kids better, you know, so that's what it is.
I mean, so even if you don't live in Lawrence, whether you're in Topeka, Kansas City, wherever, I would definitely strongly recommend getting these young men out here, whether it's football, whether it's basketball, I don't care if it's chess, but getting them involved in something early could pay dividends later when they become young adults.
For sure. For sure.
So once again, thank you for being on the show, man.
Appreciate
looking
it,
forward to this coming football season.
2019 is coming. Bring your kids out here, man.
Yes.
I'm telling you, it's going to be big.
We're going to keep on here, and we're going to break these 4 games down that we do. So
Yes.
Go ahead and introduce the first game.
Okay, and of course, guys, talk about first the Kansas City
Chiefs.
Hey. Them Chiefs, the Kansas City Chiefs, quite the test coming up for them at Arrowhead Stadium. Mike and Leon, I want to hear your input on this as well. This is basically the baby brother team in LA. Both teams, the Rams and the Chargers, are both playing extremely well. Right. The Chargers don't necessarily get their just due at times. Right. Phillip Rivers playing terrific football as always. Mike, I want to start with you. What do you like about this matchup? And then Leon, I want to hear you voice your opinion on this as well.
Well, this game is a big game. This is for everything, all the marbles. Whoever wins this game wins the division and has sole possession of the #1 seed in the AFC playoffs. So this game is big for both teams. Let's start with the Chargers. They've been bullied against the Chiefs the last few years. So what I'll call them the hungry bullies. What I mean about the hungry bullies is that when you get pushed by the same person for so long until when all of a sudden something snaps off and you fight back and you beat up that bully and take everything from them. So that's why I call the Chargers the hungry bullies, because they're going to come in hungry. This went so bad, they just get tasted, because the last few times they fell short against the Chiefs. But now there's a possibility they get their running back, Melvin Ingram, will be huge for the offense as well. And their receivers is playing good, especially Keenan Allen. He just sneaks through and makes plays. And their defense, ever since getting Bosa back, has been double trouble. So now you not only have to worry about Melvin Ingram, you also have to worry about Joey Bosa on the other side as well. And that rookie safety, Edwin James from Florida State, is balling. He is up for the Defensive Rookie of the Year. To me, the Chargers is like the Baltimore Ravens defense. They'll disguise it. They don't show a lot. They communicate so well. And I like the way the linebackers tackle in space. They don't give up too big plays. So that's concerning for the Chiefs going forward. They barely snuck out against the Baltimore Ravens, but you're going against Phillip Rivers. This ain't Lamar Jackson, because Phillip Rivers can make you pay. And we saw that a couple weeks ago with the Steelers, to where they was up by 16 points and got too comfortable. And Phillip Rivers just came back and lights out, and they won at the end. So for the Chiefs, for the defense, their run defense is an issue. They gave up a lot of yards against the Ravens on Sunday that could have cost them the game, but they was making big plays for sacks that pushed the Baltimore Ravens back out of field goal range to force them to be third and long and fourth and long situations. So their defense is going to have to step up big, and especially the secondary, because Chargers receivers, they're tall and they can ball and they can get behind you with the second. You also have to watch the running backs coming out for the flat and the screen game as well and the pass game. So they run a screen. They also run routes like receivers as well. That's why I like about the Chargers offense. It's so diverse, it's so dynamic. Anybody can make plays and all that. And this year's second coach, the players have started taking on his personality. That's what I like about the Chargers, because with that coach installed, he revamped that whole franchise to where they're playing good ball. Last year, they was this close of getting to the playoffs, and they're this close of beating the Chiefs and winning the division and having home field advantage throughout the AFC. So it's big for both teams, and the offense, they got to have a running game going. Because if you don't establish a running game and you force Patrick Mahomes back throwing a lot and just keep the pressure off him, then you're going to lose. And the defense of the Chargers is exactly the same like the Baltimore Ravens defense. They're identical. They disguise and they get after the quarterback. They're going to press you up the middle. So it's going to be very difficult for that Chiefs offensive line to block the Chargers defensive line.
All right, a big test. What do you think about this, Coach?
Man, like he said, it's going to be a big game. You know, Chargers are doing really well this year compared to last year. Chiefs are doing well, but I feel like just the home court advantage a little bit is going to help the Chiefs a little bit. And even though they're, hurting with Hunt and all, I feel like they've had some tough games against the Patriots and the Rams, so where they will probably be able to pull out this game. So I'm going Chiefs all the way, man, just because of home court advantage, and they've been in some close situations before to where they can kind of, pull this off, I think. So shooting for the Chiefs, even though, Chargers, they're doing pretty well this year. So.
Yes, they are.
Yep.
All right. Kansas City Chiefs, Los Angeles Chargers, a big-time test for both of these teams. A lot at stake. The second matchup, the Dallas Cowboys, fresh off a big win, like we talked about, 29-23 winners over the Philadelphia Eagles. They will be playing Andrew Luck and the Indianapolis Colts, who are off of a win against the Houston Texans in impressive fashion, 24-21 victors in this matchup. Mike, what do you think about this one?
Well, this is going to be another good game. It's going to be another good test for the Dallas Cowboys on the road, because they ball at home, but on the road they're not that good. And especially with the Colts, they got a big win over their division rivals yesterday to keep their playoff hunt alive. So their Colts are hungry, and it's now or never. It's win out, you're in. So the Colts is playing good. You start seeing Andrew Luck start coming to his own again, coming off that shoulder surgery that he had last season, which kept him from not playing. And the Colts addressed a lot of issues that they need this offseason with the offensive line. That all rookie Nelson for Notre Dame is balling. He's protecting Andrew Luck on the inside. That's what they need, and that's what I'm starting to notice. And their defense is starting to play really well. And the running game is just going. And T.Y. Hilton is just T.Y. Hilton, just balling. Now for the Dallas Cowboys, there's still going to be some issues. You start to see Dak and Amari Cooper relationship go. And Ezekiel Elliott is still going to be Ezekiel Elliott. So I feel like they need to feed him the ball more to take time off the clock from Andrew Luck. So a big key for both teams is time of possession. Who will win the time of possession is likely going to win this game.
All right, the Colts and the Cowboys. In our third matchup, moving forward, the Miami Dolphins taking on the Minnesota Vikings. Of course, the Vikings right now playing the Seattle Seahawks for Monday Night Football. What do you like about this matchup with the Dolphins?
Well, both teams still are in alive for the playoff hunt. We saw that miracle play Sunday for the Dolphins was a piss poor tackling by the Patriots, and we'll get into that. So the Dolphins, they got to go on the road, and they're not a good road team, and they got to get the job done. They got to play good offense and be consistent. And there's at times where Ryan Tannehill, he have a big game, then he'll be inconsistent the next game. That has been proven past seasons. So the offense has got to be big, because Vikings has a very good defense, a very good secondary, and I like their D-line. they can rotate players, and they're pretty good, detail-oriented, and they coach fundamentals, and especially Harrison Smith, the safety, he knows how to play. He can tackle in space, blitz you, and all that. And for the Vikings offense, they have to have a good game against the Dolphins defense. If they don't, their playoff hopes is gone. And they have to win against Seattle to get the sub spot in the playoff hunt.
All right, and that's going to take us to our fourth and final matchup. Before we go into the predictions, and Coach, I definitely want to hear your predictions on these scores in this game. It's coming up in a second. But first, your boys, though, the New England Patriots taking on the Pittsburgh Steelers, which is obviously a big matchup for both teams. What do you like about this one?
Well, if I'm the NFL, especially the AFC, I do not want to play the Patriots because you just woke up the sleeping giant. It's not in the game they lost, it's how they lost. The last play of the game, you know it's going to be hell week for Bill Belichick. He ain't going to play that. Especially tackling is going to be an issue for them. So he's going to work tackling. It's going to be hell week. We saw this last year, but this year it's a different story. I think this year they're going to take it personal because the way they lost and all that. And Tom Brady, he was like, that's not the way I play. So that's going to motivate him and push and all that. And the defense, you know, they're going to be wanting to smell blood against the Pittsburgh Steelers offense. So if I'm the AFC, watch out because y'all just woke up the sleeping giant of the Patriots. And for the Pittsburgh Steelers, they've lost two. It's been dysfunctional for the Pittsburgh Steelers this season. And the kicker slipped and fell, missed the tying field goal against the Oakland Raiders. We all saw that.
Right.
You just put like somebody snuck in the invisible banana and slipped and fell, missed the field goal. I don't know what happened. They lost against the Raiders. 2-10 Oakland Raiders. Wow. So Pittsburgh, they got a lot of issues they need to fix, and their defense needs to change up because Tom Brady always torched the Pittsburgh Steelers playing that same defense, so you have to mix it up and get them confused. But for the Patriots, it's going to be personal for them because how they lost, like I was alluded to, the running game has to be into the factor. Get Sony Michel going. The offensive line has to block better, and the pass game has to come along. It will, and the offensive line needs to pass protect a little bit better, and the defense and the secondary, it will just piss poor tackling. Too many missed tackles, giving up too many big plays, easy plays that could be prevented, and communication was not there. They didn't communicate well with the other guys. They're good for that, but Sunday, it didn't look good at all. So, like I said, the Patriots, they're going to take the rest of this game personal. And that may be the best thing for it to happen because by that happen, it will make everybody mad. You know the coach is going to drive them insane, playing that same field all week to get them motivated and get it going. So if I'm the NFL and all that, you better watch out for the Patriots. They will play their best football.
Absolutely, and if anything, I mean, would you agree, both of y'all, with that big loss and it's almost playoff time? It almost like it exposes what they could still improve on heading into the postseason.
Oh yeah, most definitely. And when playoff hits, fun games is over. And just put it this way, they'd rather have it happen now than like in a Super Bowl.
Right. Absolutely.
So get that out the way, and they're going to put that in their situational football, and Coach Belichick is going to coach them on that.
Yeah, you kind of want to have that taste, that defeat before you go into, so you know what to expect. And I mean, you don't want to feel that anymore during the playoff season, so it's good to feel it before it really counts, So I agree with you.
Now, before we go to predictions, while you put your spin on that, what I want to ask you real quick, and I'm pretty sure both of y'all can kind of answer this question. Now, the beginning of this season for your football team, it wasn't the greatest. Kind of started off slow, had some tough losses, were in some games that you could have won. But as the season progressed, you saw the team improve. You saw wins starting to come back to back to back. What did you just continue to implement in practice for these guys to get better and, kind of grind it out through those tough losses?
When it comes to youth, you get new players here and there. So you, like it was said earlier, you gotta learn what your players can do on the field and what their talents are. So during the first few games, you're kind of learning on what this player can do, what that player can do, so you can put them in the best situation. And for me as a coach, I'm learning as well on what plays should I call during this down the distance and all that stuff. So as you're going through the season, you're kind of learning players, you're learning plays, and you get a gist of what works best for the players to run and all that stuff. So throughout, the beginning is kind of a learning experience, and then once you start learning what the players can do, that's when you're starting to have fun and stuff like that too. So it's just being more experienced and just learning what everybody can do, So, yeah. So that's it right there, yo.
And then, Mike, you being a player, how would you answer that?
Well, it was the same way, but it was like a hard-nosed lesson to where if we lost in a close game and wherever it happened, Monday will be film session, and it'll be hell week, but it was worth going through that hell week, practice, grind it out, and get better. And next week we won that game, so you just have to learn from it. But it's gonna be hell when you lost that game and you have that bad taste in your mouth, to where it made us more focused, it made us that more determined, to where coach is going to push us to fundamentally tackling and all that, the Oklahoma drills and all that stuff. So he pretty much hit it on, but we're in a different time
Right.
in football compared to what we was playing and all that, and how we handle loss, because we was able to handle losses better than this day and age. So you have to coach them how to deal with a loss and all that, just teach them.
All right, great answers from both of y'all. Definitely appreciate that. With that being said, it's predictions part, and like I said, Coach, we definitely want to hear your predictions for these 4 matchups. Now, we heard your prediction with the Chiefs, but Mike and of course Luke and myself, and then go ahead and just put yours set in stone. We're gonna give you another chance to make your prediction be heard, starting with the Chiefs and the Chargers. Mike and Luke, who y'all have?
The Luke has the Chiefs. I'm going to upset. I'm going with the Chargers, because the Chargers, like I said, are some hungry bullies, and they've been beaten up by the Chiefs so long, and they've been this close to winning the AFC West Division. I feel like this year is their time. They're playing good football at the right time, and they're getting everybody back healthy at the right time. That's the key. And Melvin Gordon is supposed to play. If he plays, that's huge. And I feel like the Chargers defense will make more plays against the Chiefs offense, and Phillip Rivers will lead the way. It'll be a close game, but I feel like Phillip Rivers will have that final drive and lead it to a field goal like he did in Pittsburgh. So I'm going to say the Chargers upset win 30-27 over the Chiefs, and they will win the AFC West for some time. They're long overdue to win the AFC West.
Coach, still going with Kansas City?
Going with Kansas City, like I said, they've been in a brawl with Patriots. They lost by 3 points. They lost to Rams by 3. So I think they want to prove a point that they can defeat, a big-time team like the Chargers too. So I'm going to say 35-28, the Chiefs, man. So I'm going with the Chiefs for sure.
I think this is going to be part 2 of the Rams and the Chiefs, except for instead of the Rams, it's going to be the Chargers. I think this is going to be a high offensive game. We already know what Patrick Mahomes can do. It's going to be different this time around, because one thing, yes, we know that they're missing Kareem Hunt, but one thing that we do see that Spencer Ware can do, and I think that's much needed for the Kansas City Chiefs, is that physicality. And they need somebody that can also pound the football to kind of match with that athleticism. And we know Kansas City is a lot more flashier offensively, so I think they need to get him going early and often. They need to do like they did against the Baltimore Ravens. They need to get Travis Kelce involved. I think if they do those things, I think they'll find a way to squeak this out. Part of me, actually, nope. I'm gonna stick with the Kansas City Chiefs. I think it's gonna be a close score. I think they're gonna win off a field goal in regulation. I say it will be. I'm gonna say similar score. I'm gonna say 27-24 Kansas City Chiefs.
Hey, if you nail it right, I'm done with prediction. If you get it right, I'm just like, I'm done. He's the new prediction king. Throw him the bell.
All right, second matchup. Yo boys, the Dallas Cowboys and the Indianapolis Colts. Who you and Luke got?
Luke's got the Dallas Cowboys. I'm going with the Colts because the Colts are in a win now. They've been hot, except for that loss a few weeks back against the Jacksonville Frog Wires, who they should have won. But Dallas, they're going to start feeling themselves and all this other stuff. They can still lose that division. Like I was saying, when something happens, what can go wrong will go wrong. That's why I call it bad luck in the making, because that black cat from the Pet Cemetery movie going out cursing people and they die, that's what's going to happen to the Dallas Cowboys. So that's why I call that. I'm going with the Colts. The Colts is playing good football. Offensively, defensively, they was able to make more plays on the road. It was a grinded out game, but they was able to win. So I'm going to go with the Colts. I'm going to say the score, I'm going to say 23-20 Colts, late field goal at home.
Coach, who you got?
Man, tough one. I believe Dallas is on a 5-game win streak too. So, I mean, they're on the up and up. So I'm going to just stick with my gut and say Dallas, even though I'm not a Dallas fan. But just based off, statistics and all, I'm going to say about 14-7 Dallas. So that's what I'm going for. Low scoring game,
Hey, their defense has been grinding out, but just the offense sometimes at later games.
I'm just going to go based off of the consistency that we haven't seen in the Cowboys in a long time. Dak Prescott has been playing well. Ezekiel Elliott has been playing good football. Amari Cooper has been playing well. I think if that three-headed monster can get going early, I think they'll find a way to get it done. I'm going to say they will win by a score. I'll say 21-14 is my score with that game. Third matchup, the Dolphins and the Vikings. Who y'all got?
Simple. I'm going with the Vikings because they know what's at stake. Even though the Dolphins know the same way, but I feel like the Vikings will play with more urgency. Offensively, they have to get going. They have to get Adam Thielen because I think Adam Thielen would be the key part to get him going because he is a good player. So if you get him going, along with Stephon Diggs and Kyle Rudolph, and get that running game going, and that defense be playing good ball, they're at home, they're not traveling South Beach, which causes a lot of teams trouble, especially this time of the end of the year, due with the weather. You playing from cold weather to humidity, that's a big difference. That's how the Patriots struggled the last few years against the Dolphins, 1-5 now, the last 4 to 5 seasons. So I'm going with the Vikings. They know where the axis stay. And I like the defensive line better against the Dolphins' offensive line. Everson Griffin, Sheldon Richardson, you got everybody who can rotate, and also the linebacker, Kendricks, and all the crew and all that. So I'm going to say the Minnesota Vikings win 24-10 at home.
Coach, who you
Yeah,
got?
I agree. I say the Vikings. I'm going to just put out a number there. I want to say 35-21, but I'm liking the Vikings play right now, so that's what I got.
And Luke has the Vikings win as well.
I agree with all three of y'all. I mean, the thing with the Dolphins and the Patriots, every team has that one team that kind of has their number, and that's what the Dolphins have with the Patriots. And it doesn't make them a better team. It's just that one team can figure you out for that one game.
And South Beach.
Yes, and that's usually how it goes. Now, if these two teams were to play in the playoffs, I'm putting all my money on the Patriots. Let's be honest about that. But I like the Vikings in this one. I'm going to say a score of 35-21 is my score on that game. Fourth and final matchup, this is going to be a physical game too. Man, the Patriots and the Steelers, who y'all got?
Well, Luke got New England Patriots. I do as well because they know what's at stake. They have to fight for the second seed of the playoffs. They can still potentially win the first round bye, but they're going the number one seed, but they're going to need some help. That's another time, another day. But after the way they lost, they're going to play angry. They're going to play with a pissed off mentality, and they're going to put all the NFL world on notice. I think the defense is going to show up. I think Tom Brady crew's going to get fired up. It's not on how they lost. It's the way how they lost. Excuse me. It's not like a regular loss, like late field goal on that. It's how you lost. The final play of the game. That is really going to stick with them, and they're going to take the rest of the season personal. So if I'm the NFL, the rest of AFC, you just woke up the sleeping giant. They're going to play pissed off football. So I'm just going to call it close early, and they're going to blow around. I'm going to say 35-20 New England against Pittsburgh.
Yeah, I'm going for Patriots too as well. I know Tom Brady's lighting up fire underneath all the players' butts at practice and stuff. I think it's going to be a close game because Pittsburgh, I mean, they always playing hard against hard competition. So I don't think it's going to be a slide by the park kind of deal, but I'm feeling like a 42-35 kind of deal, Patriots winning, coming through just because of that fire that's lit underneath their butts, so that's what I'm going for.
All right. I agree with everybody. I like the Patriots in this one. I think it's going to be a close score as well. I think it's going to come down to the fourth quarter and who's the better quarterback. I'm going to say a score, I'm going to say 35-28. I got New England on this one. And that's going to do it for this episode of Gameball NFL Endzone.
Social media, you can follow us on our Facebook, Gameball College Kickoff / Gameball NFL Endzone. You can email us at gck.gnfle. You can also follow us on our official Twitter page at GCK_GNFLE. Follow your boy, all caps, Gameball _Mike NYK on Twitter. You can also follow us on our Instagram at GCK_GNFLE. Get your merchandise, your workout gear, every gear on our clothesline website at tokendesigns.com/Gameball. That's TOKAN designs.com/Gameball. That's token, not toucan, folks. Like, subscribe, hit that subscribe button, my right to your left, your left to your right, vice versa on our YouTube page, gck.gnfletv. When you also subscribe, hit that notification on our alerts and updates on our posting. I'm going to pass it on to Coach, where they can follow your group and all that.
So look us up, Lawrence Red Raiders Football, or you can just look me up, social media, Leon Beckham, BECKUM. Yep.
All right, and don't forget, sign-up doesn't start until August, but you can still get in touch with Coach Beckham and let him know your interest in signing your son up. And once again, that is kindergarten through 6th grade, so if you want to start him out in flag football, kindergarten through 1st is the way to go. And also, like I said, from a parent standpoint, watching him coach from 2nd grade all the way up, and they're getting ready for the 5th grade year, to see what they can develop is incredible, and I've enjoyed watching it. I can't wait for the 5th grade year coming up in August, and just to see these young men get back at it, and they're going to be stronger, they're going to be bigger, so it's going to be exciting. But like I said,
we're also looking for sponsorships too, you know, to help our players out. Any little bit will help. We have around 100 players, so not a lot of them are fortunate to have the things that we need, so we're always fundraising, but like I said, sponsorships are always a plus, so,
Absolutely. And social media, Snapchat, Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, Jovelle Entertainment, that's JOVELLE Entertainment, and for inquiries, music, and more, JovelleEntertainment@gmail.com. Once again, if you have the opportunity to bring your young man out to that football field, I strongly encourage it as a parent to come join the Red Raiders. I guarantee it's a family atmosphere, great coaching staff like Coach Beckham here, and just having that family atmosphere and that brotherhood that you'll see your sons, even your daughters, if they want to play football, please bring them out. We definitely welcome that as well. Yes, please bring them out. We got girls on the team right now, and they ball. They can ball
hard, so
trust me, please come out and support us. I encourage, if you have an opportunity to bring a young man out and he wants to play football, we will do whatever we can to get him on that football field. Trust and believe, Leon Beckham.
I appreciate it, boss.
My brother, I appreciate it.
Don't forget our other brother, Luke Harnett.
Yes.
Facebook, Instagram as Luke Harnett, on Twitter as Luke Harnett2. Folks, I'm Michael Riley.
I'm Marcus Young Genius Jenkins.
I'm Leon Beckham.
All right.
Gameball NFL Endzone, where the football season never ends. Peace. We are out, and see you next week.